Hey folks, it looks like multiple people are joining this week. Not able to join, but to get going, any updates, insights, submissions people are able to do? Also, anything you're trying that worked or didn't work?
I'm having issues with Kaggle. So I was looking at the notebook that Mayank was talking about, the 270K one, and they use TF-IDF. So
Right.
I swapped that out with a face index, and it works when I run it locally. But the moment I hit submission, then it fails. So I'm not 100% sure what the issue is. So I finished spending 4 submissions yesterday trying to debug, and it seems to break right before it loads my new face index. So I'm not 100% sure what the issue is. I'm trying to see if I can debug it. But in terms of anything else, in terms of the experiments that I was trying, yeah, that was the main thing, just using Hugging Face, a quick and easy way to kind of create a face index of those 270K or whatever the data set is. And then, sorry?
The 270K articles or whatever.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And then, just do like nearest search, get back the indexes, and then add that into the context when you're making the inference call. Other than that, I started training the Minstrel 7B stuff, and then Stability AI's 3B came out. So yeah, I'm kind of torn between those two. I'm just kind of setting up both of them.
What's the second one you mentioned? I also saw Mistral thing quite a bit. Or what is the second one?
Stability AI came out with a 3 billion model trained on 1 trillion tokens. So I think the way it's released yesterday.
What is its name?
Stability LM 3B. Let me pull it up.
Oh, okay. I hadn't seen much, or maybe I just didn't notice much chatter about that one yet. But yeah, I saw the Mistral one.
Where is it?
Mistral is 7B, right?
Yeah, Mistral is 7B. This is Stable LM 3B.
Interesting.
4A1T. That's what it's called.
I see.
Let me.
I might check those two out.
Yeah. Mistral one, the interesting thing, something that's been going on Twitter is with the HF trainer, there is something weird going on with the loss curve. It's dropping too fast, something weird going on. So yeah, that's like kind of holding back on that because yeah, I'm using the HF trainer itself. I'm not using the pure torch version and trying to solve that problem. So yeah, other than that, yeah, nothing else on my end to report really.
Yeah, actually, I mean, I tried this. This. If you look at the latest notebooks on code, there's like a bunch of them with using this Platypus 70 billion thing that the guy posted. So I tried playing with a couple of them, and they have scores. And so I tried playing with them, and it runs successfully, right? Both of them, 2 of them that I tried, both of them run successfully. And then when you score them, they just run too long. At least I think they run too long because let me share my screen. And the, the ones I'm talking about are like these three, which have, or, there are now many more beginning to show up, but originally there were about three of them.
Right.
And there was this platypus, the original guy who did the platypus 70 billion training, and there was this LMSE. So I said, okay, let me just try that. And I tried it first with this guy, then with LLMSE using platypus. Now, when I submit, though, you can see what happens, right? It just times out.
Yeah, weird.
Right? So which means it runs too long, is my understanding. And in fact,
I made a submission with the 70p, the first notebook that came out. Let me see if I can find it. And then it worked, if I'm not wrong. So,
oh, it did? Did you
let
get
me double
the
check.
score?
Yeah, and it kind of matched what he had said too, if I'm not wrong.
Oh, 0.872?
Wait, 0.80 something, right?
No, his score says, like, see here. Oops, not that correct one. It's 872.
Ah, weird. Oh, this is updated 3 days ago, so I haven't tried that.
This is, yeah. See, the earlier one you're referring to was his first one that he did. Yeah, and that was 0.802. So,
no, yeah, that is the honest. I didn't know there was an updated version.
I didn't play with it. There was an update, right, where he and a couple of this. So I played with it, submitted it, and you can see that that's this one. That was the first one I did. It timed out. So I kind of, started reading the comments and stuff. And sure enough, if you okay, so if you look at the comments that he, one of the things he says is, well, or the guy says, hey, I ran this and it kind of times out. So in response, he says, whether your submission is timeout, my CAD went for 9 hours without finishing. Right. So then he says, yeah, it took approximately this. Reduce the context length to 2500 is safer. Right. So what I did, you see the version 2s of mine, both of the LMSE and this. So if you look at, okay, let's just stick with this. This is one of the two notebooks that I was playing with. So, but both doing similar things, right? So if you see, he has a max context of 2750. So I changed that to 2500 and resubmitted. That also failed. Oh, this one, interestingly, well, I'm just seeing because I submitted all this over last night and stuff. But anyway, you can see that the LLMSE timed out version 2, right, using Platypus. But this one says out of memory, which is weird because this one says notebook timeout. The version 1, just so you know, is the original version with no changes. Version 2s are reduced context of 2500. But I'm just seeing that the second one ran out of memory, which is weird because the context is something that I've reduced.
Yeah.
And this is the context that he's referring to, right?
Yeah,
that is the size of the context that you're showing to the model, and there is a max length, and you just kind of, max context, and you say max context is. So I was just wondering, I'll try it again with 2000, but at some point when you drop it, you're going to impact the score, right?
Right. Isn't
so it's a balancing act.
Isn't context kind of I'm not 100% sure, but my understanding is, isn't context here, he's talking about what you're retrieving, right? Or is it some other context here?
No, it is. That's my understanding too. That it's what
So,
you're the size of what you're retrieving.
so if some, so it's, so isn't max context kind of like wrapped? I mean, like max length wraps around max context, right? So if something was, let's say the context length is 2750, you're still capping context length plus question plus answers at 4096. And even if you drop down max context, you kind of understand where I'm going? Or
Oh,
am
you're
I not?
saying that it's the max length that has to change rather than
I
max
don't know.
context
I'm not
because
100%
the
sure. But
yeah,
he
yeah. So
clearly
that's what.
mentions that, but max length is the one which is kind of the, yeah, so max context is what you're retrieving, right? Context is equal to row context.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And see, max length is the one that is going into the tokenizer and as well as the
Where is max length?
right underneath there, there's a prefix and suffix that, yeah. Yeah, I haven't really looked at this person's code much, so I'm not 100% sure, but yeah.
Max
Yeah,
length.
that's
So
interesting that you got out of memory for the second.
yeah,
I'm
where
not
my
sure.
context is actually smaller with the same,
Yeah.
but that's weird because that shouldn't be the case, right? Because if at all
Until
anything,
and
I'm reducing the context.
yeah, until and unless if something, I don't know, is your batch is going in at random, so maybe it picked up something really big, where in case the first one it didn't pick. But yeah, I don't know. How did he make a successful submission and you guys are not able to? I'm not sure. That's
Yeah,
weird.
unless the other thing is one of these cases I was running two things simultaneously. I don't know whether that I'm just thinking through whether that it shouldn't have any impact
Yeah.
because they each go into their own
Can you
channels
go
or
to
whatever.
your
And
submission? The screen where you had submitted. And can you click on this notebook? Yeah, let's click on that one itself, the timed out one. What does it say on the logs? Like if you go to the logs, notebook input output logs, yeah. What is the last thing that it says? Oh, it just says that nothing else. Okay.
yeah, because see, this log would be again. That's a good question. This log is for when it ran, right? Meaning, what I mean is when it ran on the public, sorry, not public, but when it ran on the 200 size data set,
Yeah, that's
right?
what it should be, right? Yeah. That's my understanding too. I'm
Right?
also,
Yeah. So that one, it ran successfully. And I did see that. Otherwise, I wouldn't see an output. Now, interestingly, the output is, all this weird ABC, 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 ABC. But it's just
wait, how did you get, oh, interesting. Okay. Oh, okay, I see
yeah.
what
And
you,
I think
okay,
that,
okay.
but you submit that, and then because it runs the notebook, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
when it runs it on whatever the data set is, the hidden public data set, then that's when it runs out of
Maybe,
timeout
or
or
yeah, time.
memory.
Yeah.
And to your point, I might try but leaving the context and monkey around with the max length and see whether that changes uh, anything. But it's kind of weird that multiple of these guys, and that's why I tried a couple of them, right? Because this is this LLMSE,
Mm-hmm.
which is a different version of the notebook,
Mm.
right? Then, so, for example. So this is the original guy, and then this is a different, copy and edit or whatever, and then slightly modified. But so and now you can see multitude of these guys have all run it. They all gotten the same score, which is exactly the same thing. But then I'm unable to get any submission to work, even with a reduced context. And actually, the interesting thing is neither of so this is LLMSE platypus, because he's basically using the model that he's trained, right? And then everything else is kind of the same. And all of these guys have run it, at least according to them, they've submitted it and have scored with a max context of 2750, whereas I'm unable to do it.
Do that, right? Yeah, that's very weird.
Right. Now, I just noticed to your thing, he's using this HF trainer. Is that the thing that when they were running it, maybe the HF trainer, many of these things, if people are still screwing around with stuff, it could have gotten updated, and then that's something that's causing problem based on what you just said.
Is he using that somewhere? I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, that's a good question. To be right. Otherwise, it immediately picks it up.
I think that is like a notebook, right? They're using deep speed with HF trainer. It is another notebook where someone had trained, I thought, but yeah, maybe I'm wrong, I'm not sure.
Okay. Anyway, I just thought that's weird that, I couldn't.
Yeah, it feels.
I haven't played with it too much, but I just thought it's really weird that multiple people are submitting it, and you can see that they've submitted, but then when you submit, it doesn't. And then this, based on this context thing, of course, I can also try, like you said, the max length modification with the context remaining the same. And that has any impact, but it's kind of funny that they're able to run it and get a submission done.
Yeah, and you haven't changed the GPU too, right?
No, nothing. It's T42. It's exactly the same. That's why the first run I did was just copy run with no changes. Then it timed out. So I said, okay, let me kind of figure out what's the reasons, and read through the comments, and we said, oh, context, change the, if you're running out of time, which, by the way, the other guy also, go back to the comment, the guy correctly points out, right? Like, go to this guy, comments. He rightly says, hey, did you were able to submit it? And but I want to ask whether your submission is timed out, and that's just 2 days back.
Yeah, right.
My code ran for 9 hours without finishing, which is exactly what I see. It says it took approximately 9, reduce the context length to 2500 is safer. And now, and I haven't changed anything other than the context length. And in fact, in the first run, I didn't even do that.
Can you go back to the comments?
I did it like with
so something super weird below that comment. Here is the code to create a Kaggle dataset with individual layers checkpoint. You need at least 2 Kaggle accounts if using FP16.
Yeah, this is he was just saying that he was having 2 accounts because he couldn't load 170 gig. And I haven't figured out. And then this guy jumps in saying, hey, if you have 2 accounts, then they can suspend you completely in Kaggle because having 2 accounts is like tantamount to cheating. But he's saying, okay, fine, I'll write to them. And then I read through this, which is interesting. But the bottom line, he says that and TPMP just says, just load it. But then, what the guy tells him is correct. I believe that you cannot load more than 107 gig or something.
I see. Yeah, the
As
input
a
I think
single
is capped
person.
at 100 gigs. Okay,
Here,
107 there. I
public
see.
quota per model
Correct.
is this. So if in his case, it is more than that. You see?
Is that per model, or I think that's just the data set?
No, it's your total. Sorry, it's the total allowed for your data set.
Public data set, right? Yeah. Okay. The private version. Yeah.
Per person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Private,
Okay.
yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Right. But actually, private or public, it doesn't
Oh, yeah.
matter.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Private or public. Yeah.
And yeah, see, and then it says, I think I get it, not allowed to single data set greater than 107.
Oh, I see. That's what it.
And
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
But then he says, I thought 107 gig for all the user data sets. But I don't know whether it is this or this.
Okay.
Now, but because of that, he does this double. So, he does it in. So if you look at his code, what the hell is this? So this is not his code. Sorry. This code. Okay. So if you look at his inputs, right, you see these two things.
Mm-hmm. Oh, instruct part one and part two. Okay.
Yeah. That's the reason he has part one and part two.
I see.
Because he can't have it all in one.
How big is that? It's just curious. Okay. I just need to check this notebook out. There's lots of interesting stuff here.
Yeah. That's why I was playing with it.
Cool.
Where does it give the size? Is there a way to quickly determine the size?
Not sure. You probably have to run something to find out, but yeah, I don't know.
158, but I don't know whether individually I can figure out the size someday.
Oh, okay, that itself is clear. Okay, so it seems like 158, so it's more than 100 gigs that you managed to put there, right?
Oh yeah, but input can always be right, like because even in prior competitions where we were doing all this CT scan stuff, this can go to whatever size because you're just loading it from within Kaggle, so that's okay. It's the fact that any one of these individual data sets, and that too, if it's a data set directly from Kaggle, it's your individual data set that's the issue.
Wait, so is that true, or does it need to be public for you to do that? Can it be a private thing that you upload and it can be more than 100 gigs?
Don't know the answer.
Yeah, I'm also trying to wrap my head around this part because I know my error is related to something on this end itself because it's able to find it when I run it locally, and then when I submit it, it's breaking. So, and I was looking at stuff when they were talking about paths, and when it runs it for your other submission, maybe there's an issue. It's not able to find things. So yeah, I'm also trying to understand this
how
stuff.
big is
It's not at all big. It's just 4 gigs.
4 gigs.
It's just an index.
Matter.
So yeah, it's not. It's more to do with the paths and that kind of stuff. But I mean, when I was reading that is when I realized, at least what I read was, it said your input data sets. I thought there was a limit of like 100 gigs per person per account.
Yeah, and that's about correct, right? Because I mean, 107, 100. I mean,
that makes sense. Yeah, that I agree. But no, I'm curious. Like, isn't what? Yeah, maybe I guess input, like you're saying, can be other data sets and the public ones and all that being mixed in there. So yeah, I'm not 100% sure.
Because you can have like 10 inputs, each of 100, and that I don't think I don't know whether there's a limit to this, but so far at least I haven't seen that being a problem.
Okay.
But I have seen individual, and in this case, obviously, he's exceeding this individual. Until this competition, I hadn't seen a case where the size of an individual data set was too big either.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, we can go around and see if anyone else of my terrains have anything else to add. But yeah, good to see. I'm curious to see. Do you know anything about like where he reads in the part one and the part two? We can come back and see that too, once we go around.
Yeah, sure. Anything, Mike?
I'm on the same notebook as you guys are discussing.
Sorry, you're breaking
Yeah,
up.
I'm on the same notebook. Yeah, I
Okay.
am
Were you able to
also
run it?
facing the same issues. No, currently
Oh,
not.
okay.
I have reduced the number of max content from 29,050, 2,750 to 2,500, and awaiting the success or the failure currently.
Yeah, 2,500 doesn't work. At least according to my runs, 2,500 also fails because these two versions were 2,500 submissions. And these two were my 2,750 or whatever submissions. It's kind of weird that one of them ran out of memory, whereas this one did. But anyway, we'll cover that. Terence, were you able to submit?
No, nothing for me this week. I was out last week and haven't gotten back to it.
Okay, we just have one
But
more
I'm
week.
gonna definitely try this one and probably get the same results. So
10 days left to go. Okay, so back to what you were saying. Let's kind of play with guys. So you were saying when does he load part one and part two, right?
Yeah, I'm just curious to see that.
Part one, or what does he call it? See, yes,
Okay.
part.
Oh, okay. Hmm. Awesome. Okay. Yeah, I'll check this notebook out and see if anything changes on my end if I'm able to make a submission or not.
Mm. Yeah, by the way, I haven't yet caught up this flash attention thing. So are you familiar with that, Rachel? What it does and how it's different from regular attention and stuff. I know that it was something that these guys came up with, a bunch of guys, and I've downloaded the paper, but I haven't yet caught up to what the idea is behind that.
No, not really. I'm
You
not 100% sure of the details either. I know it's faster, that's all, and I think Hugging Face lets you use it easily. So that
yeah,
was pretty
everybody
much
now
the end of it.
switched because
Yeah.
because everybody switched to using this Flash version of it because that so much faster apparently than the retention, but I haven't.
Do they use flash retention here?
Yeah, see, he has the comment here, right? And in fact, something I also read in that Flash paper or somewhere else that one of the architectures doesn't quite yet support Flash retention.
The old one or the new NVIDIA ones? The new NVIDIA ones support it. I know that. Might be that the older ones.
Correct. Yeah, I think that's true. The older ones have an issue, and that's what I think they don't use Flash here, right? Because it's a T4.
Yeah. So Flash is, I mean, sorry, Kaggle has the older things, right? It's not a A100 or it's the P100.
Yeah, the
It
T4s
doesn't
and the
support.
yeah, P100s, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think they use Flash here. Probably because the architecture doesn't support it. That itself is interesting as to why something in code is dependent on something in hardware. But, you know, be as simple as, I mean, it's understandable if, for example, CF16 isn't supported or something like that. But in this case, it would be to be something different than that. So even fastest hardware guy, I'm kind of curious about why flash retention depends on modern architecture support. What's the thing which makes
It may be that they have used CUDA here for some internal calling via Python. So it might be that the newest CUDA version might have those methods, those subroutines, and these T100s and P100s, T4s and P100s do not have them.
Yeah, we'll check it out. I've seen some couple of blog posts about it, so it should be easy enough to dig up. A lot to learn, I think, from this competition. Both this ability to kind of train 70 billion models, do it layer-wise.
Yeah, it's crazy. This is like one of those first competitions where while you're working on it, you see like 2, 3, 4 new models are released that you can
Yeah, and
potentially
also
use.
like some
Crazy.
really cool, nifty capabilities and techniques, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know that anybody would have bothered to do this layer-wise training and stuff if it weren't for all this kind of limitations. I think I like the constraints situation sometimes because it forces you to do things that you wouldn't otherwise bother. In fact, I'm, completely unfamiliar with this whole shard. I've just heard of it, but I've never kind of done it. So I want to kind of dive in. I mean, once you dive into it, both use might be very simple, but at least kind of getting the concept and clean memory thing, by the way. And in fact, I think Becky should know this too because we went through that course that Mayank and I are going through right now, but he went through it live. I think this whole clean memory as well as, I forget what, Jeremy has something even better than clean memory, or is this clean memory what he used? I'll go back and check. But during the course, he kind of points out how to reclaim most of the memory, GPU memory. You remember that, Rakel, in the course?
Yeah, I think it's
The
just
part
the,
2.
yeah, I don't think it's, at least I can't remember anything else other than, yeah, the garbage collection stuff. I
Right,
don't
garbage
see.
collection, and he also he also reclaims what I do remember. I don't remember the code, but what I do remember is he says, look, one of the reasons that this is bad, or one of the reasons that in notebooks, what happens is the output apparently is saved, and he reclaims all that.
Oh, don't remember that at all. Okay.
Yeah, as well. So, thereby getting, there is the garbage collection, there is the memory, and then there's cleaning up of the cache and all the output stuff that, so if you have like a pandas file, and if you print,
Mm-hmm.
all that is sitting in memory, which you don't need. It cleans all that up. But anyway, I'll go look at that because you can see that that's heavily used, and you need
Yeah, makes sense. I
when
can't
you're playing
remember.
with this kind of stuff. Like, you see this clean memory and garbage collect used very often because you're dealing with such large amounts of data that important to do. You can see, in fact, in most of this competition, you can see people garbage collect and run the clean memory almost after every cell. Yeah, see again. Okay, I didn't have anything else. I was just wondering, and I'll play around with the max length, as you said, that has any impact. Actually, this is a clear public score of 0.872 with this guy.
Yeah, that's frustrating. Not sure what is going on.
Really, really strange. Weird. Anyway.
Oh, and I don't know if you saw, but I think like QLoRa, there is something else which has come out, QA LoRa. And I think we were talking about this last time where you were talking about why, something similar, why the weights need to be bumped up back and then kind of, yeah.
Correct.
So the QA LoRa stuff, I think, addresses during the merging process where you do like a 16-bit operation. Otherwise, your base does 16 to 32, and then you add it back to the 16 of the new weights. But yeah, so I don't know if you're interested, you can check out QA LoRa,
Okay.
what it's called, I think.
Oh, okay. I'll definitely check it out.
But yeah.
I still haven't burrowed down into the details of that question. Why do you need to dequantize in production? So anyway, I think you had some ideas, or you mentioned.
Yeah, after saying that, when I try to quickly look back, and then yeah, I feel the dequantizing thing wasn't fully correct what I had said. So yeah, I also couldn't find out an answer to that quickly. So
Yeah, it's more like I'm just curious when some statements are made, and once you get it into your head of why, then at least retrieving is
right, yeah.
easy, even though I can't retrieve on command, but you can go back and look at, oh, I thought I knew where the answer lies, but right now I don't even know the answer. So QA LoRa, you said, right?
Yeah, that's what it's called.
QA LoRa, and then also you said
stable LM
or something.
Stable LM 3B 4E1T. That's what it's called.
Okay. Yeah, once you search for stable LLM, and yeah. Okay, cool. Several pointers to chase down and some intriguing bugs. Why things don't work that seem to work for other people. But why we are here, there's still stuff to do. Okay. I didn't have anything more. Thanks for those inputs. Thanks for joining, everybody. See you all next week.
All right, see you guys
Just have
next
one
week.
more
Take
meeting
care,
to go.
everyone.